Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Today I'd like to talk about mistakes that we tend to make while making wudu. Remember, there are four main components of wudu that we need to fulfill so that the wudu is completed. They are highlighted in a verse of the Quran in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. O people of Iman, when you intend to stand up for Salat, then wash your faces and your hands up to your elbows, and make masa of your heads and your feet up to your ankles. So these are the four components of wudu that we must maintain and do properly. And I'll go through each one of them in detail. But prior to that, let me talk a little bit about the intention that one needs to make. Many people are under the impression that when a person needs to do something or wants to do something, any form of ibadah, then he needs to make an intention, and that intention is verbal, or there are certain things that the person needs to recite. The reality is that intention is what's in the heart. When a person, for example, he's setting his alarm for 5 in the morning, his intention is to wake up for Fajr. He is getting into the car, he just made wudu, he's driving towards the masjid at Fajr time. His intention is to pray Fajr. So that is intention. So even in wudu, a person, he is going to the bathroom and he intends to wash himself with the intention of praying afterwards. So that is the intention for wudu. So what does it mean then to have the intention for wudu? And if you don't have the intention, the wudu is incomplete. This is a difference of opinion amongst the Hanafi scholars and the rest of the three schools of thought. In Hanafi fiqh, if a person unintentionally makes wudu, how does that happen? For example, a person, he lives in an area which has a lot of storms, rainstorms, like for example in Florida. And while he's walking, suddenly he gets caught in a rainstorm and he gets completely drenched. His face, his arms, his feet, everything gets drenched. And then he gets home and he thinks to himself, well, you know what, my whole body got drenched, so I have wudu. So in the Hanafi school of thought, this wudu would be complete even though he didn't have the intention to make wudu at the time. However, he will not get rewarded for it. The other three schools of thought, they say no. A person has to purposefully make the wudu for the wudu to be valid. And those three schools of thought would say, for example, that same person who got caught in the rainstorm, if he made the intention for wudu at that particular time, then according to them also, the wudu would be valid. So again, the difference of opinion is in between the Hanafi school of thought and the other three madhahib that say that the intention is essential. Imam Abu Hanifa says that the intention is important. However, a person's wudu would be valid, but he will not get the reward for it. Okay, so that's the intention out of the way. After that, you have the issue of washing the face. Washing of the face is essential, and the mistakes that people make in washing of the face is that, especially when they are making wudu with cold water, they will take the water and just splash the front of their face. However, the definition of wajh is that when you face somebody, you can see that whole section. Whatever you can see from the face, that needs to be washed. So that means that everything from the hair on the top, all the way around, all the way here. Some people leave this area dry, all the way under the chin, and all the way around again. So nothing should be left dry. The issue of the beard is that if it's a thick beard that a person has, then the surface of the beard is sufficient. However, if it's a thin beard, then the inside of the skin needs to also be washed. The second mistake that people make is that when they wash their arms, they leave their elbows dry. And the elbow is an essential and integral part of the wudu. It needs to be washed. Again, people in a hurry sometimes, they're getting late for the salat, or because again the water is cold and they don't feel like rubbing it all over themselves, they tend to leave the elbow dry. The elbows must be washed. And also, the point should be kept in mind that the obligation is to wash everything, including the hands, when a person is doing that. So if a person has some kind of compound on his hand like glue, it needs to be also removed so that the water can go inside. And here we also advise our sisters that if they put nail polish on, the nail polish needs to be removed so that the wudu is complete. Otherwise the wudu would not be complete because the water is not getting onto the nails. Okay, so that's the hands, including the elbows. The third thing is the masa of the head. And there are differences of opinion amongst the scholars as to what is a minimum amount of masah. However, we should try to observe the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in basically making our hands wet and then rubbing them all over our head. And that is basically the sunnah method of masah. And again, like I said, there are differences of opinion amongst the scholars as to the minimum amount that needs to be done. We should try to observe the sunnah and do the whole head, inshallah. The fourth thing is, again, very important, is the washing of the feet, including the elbows, including the ankles. And in this, many people, again, they tend to be negligent about the heels. Once the Prophet ﷺ, he saw people making the wudu and the heels were not being washed properly, so he said, وَيْلٌ لِلْأَعْقَابِ مِنَ النَّارِ. Destruction is for such heels that they will go in the hellfire because of the negligent nature of the wudu that is being done. So here we need to make sure that all of our feet are washed. Inshallah, we can talk about masa on socks at another time, and that requires its own details. But for now, we're talking about the washing of the feet. If the feet are bare, they all need to be washed. There is an opinion amongst the Shia school of thought that you can make masa on the feet also. Just take moist hands and make masa on bare feet. This is not a valid opinion. The washing of the feet is essential, as highlighted in the hadith that I've just mentioned. وَيْلٌ لِلْأَعْقَابِ مِنَ النَّارِ. That means also that we should try to make sure that water, it gets between the toes and every part of the foot is washed, and again including the heels and the ankles, make sure they are not left dry. So again, to summarize, the face completely, the arms completely, the masa of the head, and washing of the feet, including the ankles and the heels. Make sure that all of these body parts are done in a complete way so the wudu is valid, and by extension, inshallah, our salats will be valid too. Jazakumullahu khairan for listening.